your glasses.
This is saying good evening to everyone that is scared to join us on our webinar. It's still Wellness Series. It's our third webinar, and we're glad that you're part of this. Thank you for being a part of today's webinar. I'm still Adesitu Afolabi, the boss lady of Wellness Healthcare Group. I'm a pharmacist by training or profession, and I'm a wellness coach by calling. I believe that everyone should choose wellness as a lifestyle, not just as a part of a life, but everything you do should actually be about your wellness, about your well-being. And we're enjoying this webinar courtesy of Wellness Healthcare Group. Wellness has over the years played a major role in ensuring that our clients and customers have access to quality pharmaceutical care and services, and also access to care under the health insurance scheme. Seamless access to care. It's undeniable that if you're on wellness plan, you're really, really going to be taken care of. Today is one of those days that we are using this platform again to reach out to people, because for wellness, we believe that the total well-being of the people is very important. And therefore, this webinar is one of the ways where we're reaching to people and looking at some topics that bothers people's health and affects their general well-being. So today we're going to be talking about sex and when it is not happening in our marriages. I'm not going to be doing this alone. I'm going to be doing this with Mr. Joshua. Mr. Joshua is our interpreter, reaching out to special folks with special abilities. We're glad that you guys are able to come to log in. Thank you very much for being a part of this. Of course, I have a doctor here now. She's called the fixer, Dr. Tolu Okoigare. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Tolu is the fixer. She's the MD of Intimacy Clinic. She's a professional mental health support coach. She's also a sex therapist. She's done this over the years, allowing couples to enjoy the fulfillment that God has put into sex. And this is what she does, and she does it very well. We're going to be depending on our experience and our wealth of experience in answering some of those questions that you guys have also sent to us for us to ask her. So we're going to be sending that to her. So let's tighten our seatbelts. It's going to be fun. So I'm tightening right now. So I know that God created sex. God actually created human sexuality. It's a gift from God. It is designed. And it's not just designed for procreation. It's not just for us to have babies. It's actually designed for couples to enjoy them, to enjoy sex in their marital life. So, Dr. Tolu, what has sex got to do with wellness? Somebody said I should ask that. So Mrs. Afolabi, why are you talking about sex? So what has sex got to do with wellness? What are the psychological, emotional, and physical benefits of sex?
Okay, good evening, and thank you for having me. Wonderful job you are doing here, and I'm glad to be a part of this. So the question is, what has sex got to do with wellness? Like I normally say, there is no health without mental health. And there is no mental health without sexual health. For us as human, we are actually sexual beings. And that's like a lecture on its own. But you just need to understand that the way you are created to be sexual. So there's something that is called, in psychology, there's something that is called the stages of psychosexual development. And that teaches you, is a school of thought of one of the father of psychologists, that talked about how you are meant to develop sexually from infants to adults, from infanthood to adulthood. So there are certain ways that you are meant to develop. For example, let me say at the, there is infanthood, that is a stage, infant stage, that's between 0 and 3 years old. Then there is early childhood stage, which is between like 6 to 11, like 3 to 7. Then there is late childhood, which is 7 to 11 or to 12. And then the adolescents or teenage years between 12 and above. There are ways you are supposed to develop sexually in those stages. For example, the early childhood, let's say between 3 to 7. This is the time that a child begins to understand that I have penis, I have vagina, I could touch it and it feels good. You know, they know it feels good. But a child of 3 to 7 does not know what it means. They just know that this part of my body actually feels good when I touch it. Now, because you need to, for a lot of people, in fact, for most children, you need to be an adult before you start understanding what it means to have relationship. What I mean, certain emotions, you need to be an adult before you can start understanding them, like what it means, what hatred means. Even though it's being passed across to you, you really don't understand what it means. What love means, you really don't really, but you just know that, oh, this person hugged me, it means that this person loves me, or this. So there are certain deep emotions that you cannot understand at certain stages of your life. But when it comes to sex, even as early as 3, 4, 5, you can feel it. Even though you don't know what to do with those feelings, but it comes to you, you feel them. And so, for example, for a child of like 5 years old, I'm sure that some of us must have seen it before. When a child of 5 years old, probably, like a boy, maybe is touching his penis and then sucking his tongue, it's something that so many of us must have seen before. But as I think for us as maybe African parents or parents that are ignorant, in most cases, what we do is just slap the child. I say, what are you doing, bad boy? The child does not even know what he's doing. He just understands that this thing feels good and it makes me feel good. He doesn't even know what it is. He doesn't know what it's called. But two things I'm trying to say here to make you understand that naturally that sexual instinct is in you. It comes to you naturally. And if you distort it, you are going to face the consequences as adults. So for example, a child that maybe is having that kind of feelings and the parent or the mom just slapped the child. In the child's little head, what he's thinking is, why is mommy slapping me for something that is sweet? And in most cases, for a lot of African parents, there are no explanations. So you don't even know why. So the boy begins to feel like whenever I feel good sexually, it's something that is bad. Whenever I feel good, whenever I touch my genitals and it feels good, it's a bad thing. That's the only explanation the child has. And the child can grow up like that, and that could mess up the rest of that child's life. So to make you now understand how, now I'm bringing the second part, which is the relationship between your sexual health and yourself as human and your mental health and your functionality. That kind of a child might not be able to understand how to, maybe he sees a lady and starts feeling that kind of feeling he felt when he was 5. And he is going to remember, the brain will always remember the time you felt this way, mommy slapped you is a bad thing. And the person might not be able to feel good. That's a simple way to just explain it to you. Now, apart from this psychological explanation that could be confusing, let me bring it to a layman term, right? You see, when you are sexually fulfilled, a lot of feel-good hormones are released to your system. Your testosterone, your estrogen, your oxytocin, your serotonin, hormones that makes you to feel good, hormones that promote, youthfulness, hormones that release happiness, that make you want to smile, hormones that keep you on top of your game. All of these are released to your system when you enjoy your sex life. And you see, another dimension is the fact that especially for our men who have been conditioned in a certain way while they are growing up, a lot of men, even in the Western world, a lot of them, their ego is attached to their sexuality. When a man is feeling incapable in the bedroom, when he gets to the boardroom, he's also going to feel incapable. A lot of research has really explained that. So you can imagine when you are feeling incapable, you feel like you can't. So when you even go out, you are still having low self-esteem. You are still feeling, so you are not on top of your game. You can't function optimally. When the sex life is not working, it's as if every aspect of your life is not working. And before you know, it starts affecting your social relationship. It starts affecting your functionality at work. It starts affecting your performance. It starts affecting your productivity. So you see, you cannot grow. You cannot be productive. You cannot function optimally without a functioning sex life.
Thank you, Dr. Tolu. So we're sexual beings, and you made it clear that when anyone is sexually fulfilled, that the hormones that are released actually promote happiness, promote youthfulness, makes you feel good. And you categorically said that if a man fails in the bedroom, it might actually be obvious in the boardroom. Maybe sex therapists have to see non-performing CEOs as well.
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh, okay. For everyone, watching this webinar, if you have questions, please go to the chat box and ask your questions. And some of the things we're also talking about are also being transcribed by someone in the team. So if you ask questions, please go to the chat box. I know that some of us have sent questions ahead, which are part of the things that we're going to be asking Dr. Tolu. But let's have your questions, please. Let's have your questions. So, Dr. Tolu, how can we define good sex? You said that when someone is fulfilled, that person releases some hormones, a feel good hormones. So, how can we define good sex? What are the parameters to measure if someone has had good sex or not?
So that could be a very difficult question to answer, if I may put it, or is not there is no straightforward answer to that. A good sex is relative. So what is good for you might not be good for me. So you have good sex as long as your sexual needs are being met during that act. It's as simple as that. So now sexual needs could be enormous. Sexual needs could be, like I normally tell some people, that sex is deep. And then you can search and not get to the end of it. So, but as long as you are getting into that act and your desire, your needs, what you want to get out of it is being met, then you can call it good sex. So it depends on what everybody wants from sex.
Thank you, Dr. Tolu. So nobody is meant to describe what good sex is to another person. That's what you're saying. It's relative. It depends on your own feelings, your own needs, your own desires. It's not what someone is handing over to you as a prescription for good sex. It's whatever, however you feel, and however fulfilled you are after the sessions. That is what is defined as good sex. It's not what a friend, it's not what the book says. So it's innate. It has to do with you. You cannot read it in textbook, but you know when you're fulfilled. So for people looking at other relationships and reading textbooks and saying this is what I want, it might not be the definition of good sex. It's relative. You only know what good sex is. Wow.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so there's this man that is in his late 50s, and his wife is in late 40s. They're about 20 years in marriage, and the man is tired of asking his wife for sex. The wife seems not to be interested again, and the man is really, really frustrated because as a Christian, he doesn't even want to go out. And when the woman was asked what the problem was, she actually said that she has never enjoyed sex, that she's never had good sex, and therefore there's no point. There's no point giving it, being available in the other room. So I want to ask you a question. How can a woman communicate her needs? I don't know why she has to wait for 20 years for her to now react to this. How can she communicate her needs? How can a woman communicate her needs without being ashamed or feeling judged? How can she communicate her needs without hurting the ego of the man? Because you already said the ego of a man is tied to sex. So there should be a way to communicate so that the man does not become a failure in the bedroom, because automatically it might become a failure in the boardroom. So how can a woman, open up and communicate to the man? And you know that in some African countries, the man might say, "Are you going out?"
So that is what, yeah, thank you for that question. That is where the problem is. And I think it's a big problem, especially for Africans. For African is huge. I think an average Western woman knows what she wants and knows how to ask for it. And even in most cases, she doesn't really even need to ask for it. But now the problem with us here is, number one, do you even know what you want? Even you as a woman, you are saying you are not getting what you want. The man is not giving it to you. Do you know what you want? Is he a magician? Is he a magician? So do you know what you want? What drives you? What makes you come? And you can connect this to the definition I gave earlier. All right? Because we are saying that whatever works for you. But the problem is for a lot of people, they don't even know what works for them. So what works for you? What turns you on? What is sexual fulfillment to you? If you do not know, how do you ask for it? How do you get it? How do you demand for it? That is the number one problem. And I think that's a very good place to start from. The woman needs to begin to define, what do I want? What drives me? Where can I be touched and I'm going to be turned on? What is great sex for me? What makes me feel good? What makes me orgasm? The woman needs to know. That's one. Secondly, for the men, you see, the same way African women have been conditioned is the same way African men have been conditioned. The women have been conditioned to, I call it conspiracy of silence. Keep quiet, don't talk. So you are in marriage for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you've never orgasm. For crying out loud, how would she look forward to it? Why would she get tired? Why would she say she doesn't? What you don't enjoy, you don't miss. How do you miss it? Because you don't even know what you are missing. And I get a lot, I mean, there are a lot of issues like this. This scenario you just gave is huge in this part of the world because people will not talk. And I normally tell them that women actually have the capacity to enjoy sex more than men. So imagine something you have capacity to enjoy that much, and then they are begging you for it. When men call me, I'm begging my wife, she's not interested. I'm like, are you sure she's enjoying it? Are you sure she actually knows what she's missing? Because if she doesn't know, she will not look forward to it. So now, back to the question. So for a lot of our women, they'll be conditioned not to talk. Because if she talks, the man might be saying, where did you learn it from? If she talks, they might be saying, oh, she's a spoiled girl. And then, you know, they should just want to marry, and then the men want to marry a very good girl. And I normally tell women, the way men are wired sexually, psychologically, sexually, their sexual sense does not work the way we think it works. It works, an average man wants a lady in the street and a freak in the bedroom. So if they tell you to be a good girl in the bedroom, it's not working for his brain. And I can explain that to you. It doesn't work like that. His brain works with a woman who can take charge, a woman who is spoiled, in quote, what we call spoiled, is actually what they want. They want you to go out and be good girl. But when you get to that bedroom, they want you to be spoiled. And then you're still going to be doing good girl. You're still going to lie down like a log of wood. It will carry your leg. It will carry your hand. It doesn't work for him. He wants you to be in charge. He wants you to come up. He wants you to take charge. He wants you to ride him. He wants you to do the right thing. But while you were growing up, your mama has told you, or your religious leader has told you, oh, be a good girl. It's not working. It's not going to work for him. And then for the men too, you know, a lot of them too, you know, are being conditioned. Conditioned in a way that, you know, the things that make women to enjoy sex is not something they like to do. I say this, that it takes a whooping 45 minutes, according to research, it takes a whooping 45 minutes to prepare a woman for penetration.
Wow.
Tell an average African man to take 55 minutes to warm a woman up, to kiss, to peck, to neck, to say sweet nothing, to lick, to touch, to do all of that, to finger before penetration. He's dead now. He's telling you. I mean, I remember saying this one where the person said, that's first half of football now, football match. So you can imagine, an average African man has also been conditioned, you know, to want to jump on the woman. Wow. Funny enough, the thing that make women to enjoy sex is not really in the penetration. In fact, for a woman to enjoy sex in penetration, you must be hitting certain spots. And for a lot of us, ignorance and lack of education is a big problem. So they don't even know where to hit. They don't know the right style to hit. You know, so they're just trying, trial by error. So you see, the issues are error. So how do you solve this kind of problem? I tell you, they need education. And they need to talk to a sex therapist. That's the simple way. That's the easiest way. And I tell you, the multitude of people that are in this shoe, oh my, there are many.
Thank you, Dr. T. This is unbelievable. When you look at the fact that it takes about 45 minutes to prepare a woman for very good sex, and I think that for every man that the wife is not interested right now, that he's hearing us has come to realize, we should come to that realization that because the woman has the capacity to enjoy good sex, something is happening. That means he's not hitting the target like he should, and it's not about penetration. But for most men, is the penetration is the end of it. But for a woman, it's not the penetration. It's those other things that you do. It's not when you serve the meal. It's those preparation before the meal comes out. That is what is important to the woman, and therefore such occurrences after 20 years will not be happening. While the woman was actually complaining that she wasn't interested, the man said it was because she has added so much weight, and it was the weight that, after all, we have 4 kids, and we're not enjoying sex while we have the 4 kids. So it's obvious that sometimes you can have all the babies in the world and you did not enjoy the sex. It's just a chore to you, and you just do it and you get up. So the man was saying that it's because the woman has added weight. That is why her libido had decreased. Can you tell us what impact that weight has on libido, on sex drives?
Okay, so weight and sex drive, I don't know any, I don't think there is any correlation between weight and sex drive. Apart from the fact that you might be fatigued, and therefore the man that you movement and it's a name for this now, but movement might not be easy, ability to move you around, you want to change style, you want to stay on top, you want to raise a leg, you want to use different style. So you might not be mobile enough, you might not be flexible. Flexibility might be difficult because of the weight. But I do not see any difference. I mean, there is more flesh to touch, there's more flesh to hold, and I think that works for a lot of men as well. So I think
for African men,
especially for African men. So I think it's majorly about mobility and flexibility. The woman might not be flexible enough. And I tell you, a lot of women that are not enjoying sex actually have the tendency to add weight. A lot of women, because sex is more like a part of your mental health, that needed to be taken care of and is not being taken care of. Possibility that you might be feeling dejected, feeling unfulfilled in that aspect of your life, and then you don't look forward to having sex is very high. And of course, when you have sex, you exercise. What might take you 3 hours on a treadmill can take you 30 minutes with love making. Right? Wow. So the number of weight that you can lose within 3 hours on a treadmill could take you 30 minutes when you have great sex. So you imagine a woman that is not having sex, possibility of not even having tendency to lose the weight, and the fact that she's not even looking forward. And then again, a lot of women tend to, there's a research that shows that there is correlation between depression and unfulfilled sexual life. A lot of women, or even men that are not sexually fulfilled, fall into depression. And of course, that gaining weight is part of the consequence. It's part of the outcome of depression. When people are depressed, they tend to gain weight. So you can be sure that it's like somebody that is condemned to because of their problem. Because if you fix sex, possibility that the weight can get reduced is very high. And if you don't fix sex, and if you are saying because of weight you are not going to have sex, possibility that the problem is going to continue is very high.
Wow. So sex and weight doesn't have anything to do with the sex drive of a woman. But the woman might actually be adding the weight because she's depressed, because her sexual health and her mental health are joined together. So if she's not being fulfilled sexually, mentally she can be feeling some level of defeat, and that causes some level of depression. And with depression, she begins to gain weight. Well, that is insightful. So sometimes when a woman is gaining so much weight, she needs to ask herself too, that am I enjoying the meters in the other room? Am I enjoying it? So how about this set of people? That have always enjoyed sex, and all of a sudden they're losing interest in sex? It happens to men and it happens to women. They've always enjoyed sex. They understand that sex means a lot to them, but all of a sudden they are losing interest? What are the things that causes such disinterested, causes people to be disinterested in sex?
Okay, a lot of factors could be responsible. A lot of factors could be responsible for people to start losing interest in sex. Stress could be a factor. If somebody is stressed up, the person might be feeling, and you see, you can relate it to the weight thing that I talked about earlier. I tell people, when you are stressed, only if you understand, but it's difficult for us as human. Because a lot of people, when they are stressed, they don't want to have sex. They just feel like, what, I just want to sleep. I'm not thinking of sex. But only if you know. I mean, for someone like me, if I have to say that, if I'm stressed, it's a good time to have sex. It's a good time to say, just make love to me. Let me feel good. Like, let me release those feel good hormones that are going to make me feel good. Right? So, but it takes a lot of energy to want to do that. But if you have understanding, you know that when you are stressed, it's a good time to have sex. But for majority of human, maybe because I'm a sex therapist, that's why I think that way. But for a majority of human, it's a time to say no to sex. All right. Then for a lot of people, it's because they can't talk about their needs. Especially in Africa, you don't know, for example, it's because they don't know what they want, they don't know what they are missing, or because they are just doing it for their partner. They can't talk about their needs. They cannot say, I'm not enjoying this thing. This is what I want. You are not giving me. So for a lot of women especially, because they cannot say, so after some time they shut down. And then for some men, to a lot of African men, maybe the woman has not been saying. The day she says this, he shut down. So we start feeling like failure. You know the way African men see sex as if, as they see themselves as if they must have everything well put together. So maybe the woman has not been complaining. The woman start complaining, he shut down. He starts seeing himself as if, right. Then of course, lack of emotional connection. I say this to people a lot, that sex does not start from the bedroom. There's no way your sex life can be great if you cannot be emotionally connected. If there's no intimacy, there's no sex without intimacy, especially among married couple. It's not the same as just having a flings or having a one night stand. But you want to keep having sex with somebody, you need to be intimate. You need to be intimate. You need to be emotional connected. You need to be friends. You need to be able to talk. You need to be able to share your opinions. You need to be able to relate. You need to be able to laugh at each other. That friendship must be there. So for a lot of people, when there is no intimacy and emotional connection, sex, because a lot of people equate intimacy to sex. What is beyond that? When there is no intimacy and emotional connection, then sex fly out of the window. So a lot of factors could be responsible: medical condition, performance anxiety, mental health issues, unresolved relationship issues. A lot of people, it might be about cluelessness. You don't know what somebody wants. You don't know how to give what the person wants. So, you do not know what the person wants. A lot of people, it's about, not being proud of themselves, body shaming themselves, or the partner even body shaming them. Oh, your tummy is big. Oh, you have stretch mark, unrealistic expectation. A lot of people watching pornography, and then they want the man or the woman to be like the person in the porn, So a lot of factors could be responsible. Sexual incompatibility, of course, not talking to sex therapists, hormonal issues, a lot of factors could be responsible. People could have unresolved trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, childhood trauma, all of these factors. So the factors could be enormous.
So if people are going through all this, what are the signs that an average couple should see, so that they could call for help immediately before it gets so bad?
So there's need to be deliberate. Excuse me. There's need to be deliberate and be conscious. Can you give me 1 second, please? I'm actually sweating.
Okay. So Dr. Tolu has told us that when people begin to lose interest in sex, that part of the reason could actually be stress. She also try to let us know that when you are stressed, it's also the good time for you to begin to look for that good feel hormones that is categorical of that happens when you have good sex. So it's easier for us. It is better we sum up the energy to look at this and see what can be done. Okay, she's back. So what are the signs that people should look out for when their partner is becoming disinterested in sex?
Right. So I think the first thing is to notice there's need to be conscious and be deliberate about sex. There is need to be conscious. So if you are conscious and deliberate, you are going to know, you are going to easily notice when things are going wrong. For example, you used to have sex 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week. So you start having it once, you know, once you just notice, if you notice that there is reduction in the frequency of the rate at which you have sex, it might be a sign to look out for. Or you notice that maybe the other partner is, the way they participate, they are not really doing it anymore. Maybe they are just doing it to just make the other person feel good. It's becoming like an obligation rather than something they normally enjoy. They are not putting their all into it, then you can begin to feel like, oh, what is going on? So, I mean, there are a lot of factors. A lot of people, you just notice that you don't also come so easily. Maybe before, it's so easy for you. As soon as you put your mind there, you just come. But this day you struggle. For some people, it might be that they struggle with erection and all of that. So there is need to be deliberate and be conscious. And then that way you can begin to notice all these little things that can make you to start asking yourself, are we doing well? Are we okay? Is everything okay?
So this is all about communication. Intimacy comes before sex. I think people are depending on sex to bring about that intimacy, but that intimacy and emotional connect actually should be there before sex. And so if there is an emotional connect and intimacy, it might be easier for the people to talk about it and to talk about sex, to talk about why are we not enjoying it the way we used to enjoy it, what is happening to us and all that. So also I get that. How about age? What role does age play in sex? What age? My grandfather actually gave birth to my dad at 87 years old, and that means he was having sex. Whether the sex was good or not, nobody knows. But he was actually having sex up till that time. And someone reached out to me that should married couples always have sex, especially when they are old. Does sex drives, does those innate feeling, does it wear off with age, or is it that the body does not have the energy to action what the brain and the sexual organs are saying? So what's the impact of age on sex?
So people can so let me put it there. People can be horny. People can be horny. They could have sexual drive. They could reach orgasm till they die. 100, 120 till the end of their life. They can have sexual drive. They can feel horny, and they have capacity to reach orgasm till the end of their lives. Now,
Wow.
having said that, there is also need to understand that people are going to get old. The bones are not going to be as strong as it used to be. Flexibility and mobility are not going to be as it used to be. So maybe you can do like 4 or 5 different styles. You can do it in the shower. You can do it on the couch. You can do it on the floor. You can raise your leg. You can do all of that while you were young. As you are growing older, you might not be able to do all of that. But that does not reduce the capacity to get horny, to reach orgasm, and to still enjoy sex. Another thing that could happen is the fact that, of course, the desire can be reduced as a result, especially for women, as they are getting older, menopause starts setting in. So people should not think that menopause means that you cannot get horny or that you cannot have sex desire or drive. It just means that your level of arousal might be reduced. There is something that's called the cycle of love making. You talk about the desire, the arousal, the plateau, and the resolution. So for a lot of women, when they begin to get old, the desire is reducing, the level of arousal is also not so easy as a result of hormone. And of course, that is why it is very important to keep psyching ourselves.
Yeah, Michelle.
Sorry. All right, so that's why there is need to keep to keep being deliberate about sex. So you just know that as you are growing, there's possibility of you to feel like, what am I even looking for? You understand? But if you understand the benefits, you are deliberate about it, you will still keep making that effort, because if you make the effort, you're going to enjoy the benefits. So people can enjoy sex till the rest for the rest of their life, but the desire, the arousal level might be affected a bit, mobility, flexibility might be affected, but that does not mean they cannot enjoy sex or reach orgasm.
So what God placed in us about sex will be there forever. It only
Forever.
depends on the people to latch on to those things and make sure that it's working for them, no matter what their age is. So age does not mean you shouldn't have sex. A woman in her menopausal age shouldn't condemn herself to, now that I'm not seeing my messes, then there's nothing about my sexual health. One can still have sex even in their old age. And for men as well, of course, me, I have a living testimony in my home that as long as you're alive, because my dad even had a younger sister, really. He had a younger sister that he was 3 years old. So that man actually had another baby at 90. So that means a man, as long as he's healthy and he's paying attention to himself and he's not sick, he can actually have sex. He might not have as much drive as he used to have when he was younger, but it doesn't mean that the sexual drive will just disappear just like that. Thank you, Dr. Tolu. So how often should couple have sex? I remember that last year there was a documentation on women's prostate health, and they said a man should at least have sex like 20 times in a month. How often should couples have sex to know
So
that their sex life is healthy?
as much as, I mean, the prostate health talk about having sex 20 times a month, I think people should just work with, as much as people want to also listen to, I mean, follow expert guide, and direction. It's also very important for people to do what works for them. Sometimes you can have sex once a week and the quality might be massive, more than people that are having it like 4 or 5 times. Maybe they're just having it, come and do, come and do, come and do. But there are people that have sex and then, the every part of your system, even your nails, your hair, your hair, your nails, your every part of your teeth, every part of your body can feel that sex.
Really?
Yes, you get everything into it, you really get down and make love. You put all your senses, you use all your senses to make love. Now, that does not mean there won't be time for quickies, to just have sex. Of course, there's difference between having sex and making love, right? But you can have
Please,
sex.
somebody asked that question. What's the difference between having sex and love making? So sex and love making, or making love and having sex? What are the differences?
In a simple term, every love making have sex. Every love making have sex, but it's not all sex that is love making. A simple way to put sex is like having a quickie, all right? Sex is like quickie, so you can quickly, you can be in your car. I mean, you are driving to maybe for a show, and then you park in a hotel, and you just look like you park under a very dark place, and you like, let's quickly do something, right? That's not the time to start, doing all the
Preparing for
paparazzi.
45 minutes.
Exactly. So that's the time to just quickly do something, but it does not mean you can still not enjoy. Of course, you can still enjoy it. Or you're in the cinema and you quickly like, oh, babe, let's just quickly do something. I mean, it happens, and then you quickly sit on top and 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then you get it done with. Those are sex, more like quickie. But when you want to make love, all your senses are involved. Your sense of touch, your sense of taste, your sense of feelings, your sense of hearing, everything, you get them involved. You get lost in the act. Right. So that's the simple analogy I can give, between lovemaking and having sex. So I don't know the question we were talking about before we.
We're talking about how frequent should people have
So I
sex?
think whatever works for you, really, whatever works for you, but at the same time, make sure you are having quantity and quality at the same time.
Okay.
Quantity is very important, but whatever works for you. So
So it's
people
not
should.
how many times that is important. Also, our listeners are also viewers are listening to us. It's not how many times, is how much quality we put in the different sessions that we have with our spouses that matters. And it does not mean that every time we need to prepare a woman for 45 minutes. A woman should be spontaneous as well once in a
Right.
while, and not just wait for the 45 minutes rituals. So it's and love making. You said there's no way you do have love making without. There's no love making cannot exist without sex, but you can actually have sex without making love. So it doesn't mean that when love making actually does a lot of more of connection. Is there more emotional connect with love making, and sex could actually be a physical exercise?
So people can actually connect with sex. People can connect, really. But I mean, you cannot, but for people to connect with sex, it might be like maybe you have been connecting, you're already connected, you've done a lot of love making and you are connected. So sex, when sex happens, you just leverage on the already built-in connection that you already have, right? But if you keep having sex, I don't see anything connecting you there. But
Okay.
if you have already inbuilt, you're already connected, maybe you make love and then you have sex, that sex could also increase the level of connection because there's something to leverage on.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tolu. So, what are your recommendations for people who do not enjoy sex at all? There are some people that said they've never enjoyed sex at all. And
So
it's not even a matter of they don't know what they want. They know what they want. They have been able to verbalize and articulate what they want, and they've never enjoyed sex at all. How can we help those people?
so there are a lot of factors that could be responsible for that. People could have sexual dysfunction, which is actually a kind of disorder that you need to treat. All right. People could have sexual dysfunction. People could have vaginismus. People could have orgasmic disorder.
Wow.
People could have people could be frigid, so people that have this kind of issues, it's not like you know how to use tongue or you know how to use finger. There's nothing you can do. They are like that. So this kind of people is just like they need treatment. They need treatment. And in most cases, therapy will work. And in some cases, the therapist you need a sex therapist. And if there is need for medication, the sex therapist could talk to maybe a gynecologist or a psychiatrist who could help with certain medications, but you need a sex therapist, right? And of course, there could be need for medication in these cases. So, and there are people, apart from something like, orgasmic disorder, frigidity, vaginismus, all of that, there are people that have, there's a name for it now, escape me. This is a painful anosgamia. That is painful intercourse. Every time, even ordinary one finger, if you bring it close to a woman, so those kind of men, bring it close to their vagina, they feel pain. Not to now talk of you are trying to even penetrate, whether they are this virgin or not, whether they have given birth or not, does not even matter. All right. So there are people that have those kind of problems. And of course, there are people that are asexual. It's just that we don't explore all of these things in this part of the world. There are people that are sexual. People that are sexual does not have tendency or desire. It's majorly like tendency or desire to have sex. It's not like they don't have genitals or anything. They just don't want to have sex. They are like that. They don't get turned on. They don't think about it. They don't like it. There are people like that, all right? So if you find yourself in this situation, you forget, of course, we might need to, the sex therapist might need to probably train you or warm them up. It could be part of the exercises that, the touching, the licking and all of that. But what is more important is the fact that the person has to be treated. The person needs to talk to a sex therapist. So it's beyond, I don't know how to make love, or I don't know what I want. It is beyond that.
Oh, so truly, there are people that really have some sexual dysfunction
100%.
and they need help. Because you also have answered the question about what causes people that have pains during intercourse. There's some people that have pains. There's really nothing wrong, or there's something wrong, but they have pains. And there are people that are asexual. They're not even thinking of sex. They don't want sex. They don't appreciate sex. So it's like a disease. And you also said that there is an orgasmic disorder. Maybe that person is never going to reach climax. It's part of the questions I really wanted to ask as well. There is a disorder, and such people and people that have frigid and are not going to respond to touch no matter what you do, even when they feel that they know what could be done, that those people they require help, and they need to see a sex therapist as fast as they can, and the sex therapist can work with other professionals to make sure that they are restored to the kind of sexual beings God has created them. Wow, that is an eye opening. So someone said we should ask that who initiates sex. I know that you already said that men would actually love a bad girl in the other room, someone that can take charge and be in charge all through the session. So, but I still have to ask you, who should initiate sex? Who should initiate sex?
Anybody that feel like, anybody that wants it. I mean, I know that for us as African women, we have been conditioned that, oh, it's a man that must ask for it and blah, blah, blah. Anybody should ask for it. Like, whoever could make the move. Women should learn. I think in this part of the world, there is need to train women to learn. In fact, I have a topic like that, you know, because I never knew it was such a problem for women that making the first move, they were like, how will I do it? Dr. Tolu, how will I do it? Now will I ask? I'm like, your husband, for crying out that they don't even know how to do. So I have to start training people on things, how you can make the first move, you know, skills, some of the things you can do, you know, to pass the message across to make the first move. But to answer your question, anybody should be able to do that. And I mean, when one party is always the one asking, I think it's going to make the other one, to make the person feel like the person is like a beggar. Like, or maybe the other party is not even enjoying it. You know, it's the only person that is only one person that is always asking the person. It might even start eroding the person's self-esteem, right? So it is very important for couples to learn, women especially, learn how to make the first move. It should be both ways.
Okay, so let's talk about let's talk about asking for it. So some people believe that when you want to ask for sex, you dress it, you act it. Why not voice it?
So I think whatever works for you, and just like you said earlier, communication is very important. So the two of you could talk about it, right? If you are free enough, if you are friends, I don't see the reason. In fact, the problem is we create a lot of barrier between ourselves as couples. If you are friends, I don't think this thing is going to be a big deal. I mean, you could wear a sexy lingerie and take a shot of yourself and say, babe, you can't imagine what I have for you tonight.
Ready. I'm getting ready.
You can't imagine what I have for you tonight. You can be watching movie and he's not expecting anything, and you just go up, you know, maybe go to the room, remove your panties, and then you just, I mean, maybe the two of you are just talking and laughing, and you just raise your leg, and then you just look at him like, what's up? You don't need to say anything. You understand? So people should understand what works for them. You could send some signals, you know, maybe you use certain lubricants, you know, whenever you want to make love, you can drop that lubricant on the bed, you know, and when the person is coming in, the person, oh, anytime I see this lubricant, it means they are going to be having sex. So I think people should be each other's friends so that they can be able to flow and, you know, do all of these things. And there's no reason why you cannot even say, depending on, like I said, what works for you. Like, I want to be, babe, I just feel like, you know, I'm so tired. I just feel like being fucked. Like, there's no reason why you cannot say that. You know?
Thank you, Dr. Tolu. So one thing that we are going to take from this session is the fact that sex fulfillment in marriage works better with communication. When you are intimate and you have emotional connect and you keep the communication line open, there's so many things that we can do as regards to sex. We have just about 10 minutes. I think we've answered almost all the questions. Somebody is asking a question about advisable for married men to use Viagra. Okay, so maybe you should ask. Let me ask you. So yeah, I'm the one asking the questions. I shouldn't be answering it. So question is it medically advisable for married men to use Viagra to help their sexual potency, sexual experience?
I would not personally. I mean, I think they should talk to their gyno or for that, you know. But personally, I would not advise it, except you are using it as a recreational, you know, it's for a recreational purpose. You know, you just maybe you are traveling for, you just want to go and have fun, and then you just want to use it for that time. You know, it's not something that you should depend on. It's not something that you should constantly use. But I think even before you even use any of these medications, I think you should talk to your doctor, talk to a medical doctor, you know, check with your, you know, maybe a urologist or a gynecologist, you know, talk
Even
to
a
them
cardiologist, because it has an impact on the heart. It
and
has
check it
impact
with
on
them.
the heart.
And I'm not really a fan of medications, you know, in the when it comes, especially when it comes to sexual enhancement. I'm not a fan, because I feel like for us in this part of the world, we are rooted with a lot of psychological issues that are affecting our sexual life. And if you like, we take all the medications from now till next year. If you don't deal with the underlying psychological issues, the drugs are just going to do the work at that immediate, and after some time you just develop tolerance, you know. So you need one tablet today, in the next two months you are taking like 3 tablets. And I think the way our men especially are swallowing and drinking all of these things, I'm not a fan. And I normally tell them every opportunity that I have that, you know what, there's something Yoruba used to say, "Aye share ologun eje." You know, you have underlying psychological issues, and you are taking kayamata, you are taking all of these things, drink this I don't know, there are different names, and people are just drinking all sorts of stuff. I don't think those things are going to work if you don't take care of your psychological issues, right? Imagine somebody that is rigid, or somebody that has an orgasmia, and you are taking kayamata. What are you talking about, right? So I think people should work with a sex therapist, you know, and if there is need for medications, then they could now be referred. But for recreational purpose, maybe once in a while, maybe not a bad idea.
Okay. The last question: does the size of the penis have impact on sexual fulfillment?
So, in a simple term, size matters, but it is not all that matters. So you could have the size and you do not know how to use it. It doesn't make any sense. Somebody that have a smaller one could be better than you. And for crying out loud, the things that even make women to enjoy sex is actually at the outer side of the vulva. The things, because it's the arousals are on the nerve endings, and the nerve endings are at the outer side of the vulva. So if you are now going to be using your penis, you want to use your size as an advantage, you must be able to be touching certain spots by the time you penetrate inside the vagina. So if you have the size and you don't know how to use it, it doesn't make sense. So skill is more important than size.
Oh, so skill is more important than size. Hitting the right target is more important than size, not about the size. So men that are bothered about penis enlargement drugs have had you as well, and know that whatever the size is not the size that matters. It's not the size that matters. It's how you can use the size, and what makes a woman enjoy sex is not deep inside. It's on the peripheral that you can even reach out to without the size of the penis. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Tolu. We've answered all the questions that's been shared with us. I want to tell our viewers that you're the one that asked the questions. You're also the ones that choose the topics. We don't choose the topics for you. When you tell us what you want us to discuss, we reach out to us. Tell us what you want us to discuss. Tell us what you want us to discuss with you. We'll bring in experts to clarify such matters, shed light upon them, and everybody gains. At the end of the day, everybody gains. I've gained from this presentation. Dr. Tolu, what would you have to tell our viewers? We're rounding up now. What would you want to tell them? Your parting words for them.
I would just tell them that, I mean, there's no health without sexual health, all right? And so they should take their sexual health seriously. And I will also encourage our people to stop running from pillar to post, drinking all these things that they are drinking all around. You know, this one will say, drink this, drink that. And then I think people should resolve their psychological issues, and because it affects it extends to the bedroom. And I will also want to encourage people to cultivate, especially Africans, Nigerians, you know, cultivate the habit of talking to a professional sex therapist. It is the way to go, is the right thing to do. So if you have a problem, reach out and fix it. Whatever you are facing that might be looking so serious, as much as it's your problem, I bet it with you, 1,001 persons might be going through the same things, all right? So all you need to do is to reach out and seek for help. And I want to let people understand that for some of us that are very religious, sex is God's gift for you. Take advantage of it, get the best benefit out of it. It has enormous benefit. Get it out of it, take advantage of it, use it to the fullest, because I don't think there's going to be sex in heaven. All right. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, please don't go. Just, so I remember there's a question. I just saw the question now. So our viewers want you to tell us some lifestyle in terms of foods, lifestyle behaviors, foods, and exercise or something that could boost libido. So what food lifestyle behaviors could boost libido?
Okay, so I know there are some specialists who are specialized in sexual food that could help you, but lifestyle, a lot of exercise is good for you. Exercise is very good. You cannot even overestimate that, because of course, like I said, you can become too rigid and you are not so flexible when it comes to love making, and you don't want that to happen to you. Pineapple is very good. I know about that. I mean, pineapple makes your vagina to smell very good. It's very good for vaginal health. Water is you can't overemphasize that. I think people should take a lot of that. I'm not the fan of all these things that they are saying, grind this, match this together, but I'm just telling you the few that I've practicalized, and I know it works for, I mean, for people, and so that's about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tolu. Thank you for this session with us. Thank you for, you just hit the nails on the point, answer without so much digression and all that. So we appreciate you for this. Mr. Joshua, thank you. Thank you for, please wave to your guys. Thank you for being here. We love you. Thank you for reaching out to the unreached when it comes to, because everybody actually must enjoy sex. Sex is a gift from God, and it's designed. It's not just for procreation. And Dr. Lo has also told us that it requires, when people are going through sexual challenges in their marriage, it's more of a psychological problem, and we might reduce how much medications we take without seeing the sexual therapist. And she also said that a man, even though man tied the ego with sex, so meaning that if a woman is communicating what she needs, you need to understand that if a man feels like a failure in the bedroom, he might actually not perform in the boardroom. And for a woman that is not enjoying sex, she should seek help. After communicating with your husband and he tries and all that, we can actually seek help. A lot of people do not even know that sex therapists available to handle this. This is not a case that you take to pastors or you take to a friend and all that. They are sex therapists. This is what they do. Dr. Tolu is one of them. She's well known for the job she does, and they are there to help us. Our sexual health is tied to our mental health and is tied to our wellness. So when you are not mentally sound or sexually okay, you might not perform optimally, you might not be productive, and therefore we should be intentional when it comes to our sexual life. For married couples that might be going through issues at this point, please reach out to sex therapists, reach out to people that can help. Weight does not affect sex, so but you might actually be gaining weight because you are not having good sex. So she also has also told us that good sex is not as prescribed by anyone. It is as prescribed by your needs and your desires. So there's no point listening to what some other people do or watching what is obtainable on pornography sites and feeling that this is what you want. You might actually be hurting yourself the more, because it's what your body needs that you give it to, and women should try to communicate. women should try to communicate without feeling judged, without feeling ashamed. Women has the capacity to enjoy more sex than men. So if you're a woman and you're not enjoying sex, you need to begin to look at it and dig deep into it, because God has given you specially the goodness that sex brings, and sex and your wellness is a lot. So sex has a lot to do with your wellness. We want to say thank you for everyone watching us. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can be the first set of people, you know, that receives our updates. We're still going to have another session on the second Saturday of June. So we'll be here to discuss the topic you tell us to discuss. So you are the ones choosing the topic. We're going to seek and look for professionals that are going to handle these topics the way you really want to have it. So I'll be waiting to have your topics. I'll be waiting for you to tell us, to guide us on the next topic. Just like I said, I don't know the next topic, but you determine the next topic for us. So thank you very much for being a part of this. Follow us on our social media pages, wellness_care_care. Follow us on our social media pages. And if you don't have a wellness health insurance cover plan, you might be missing. Health insurance is a good way to finance your health without drilling hole into
Sorry
your
to
pocket.
cut you. Can I go?
Yes, Dr. Toby, we're closing now. Thank you very much.
So
So we're saying,
me, they can check me. They can check my website, intimacyclinic.org, in case they need to reach me, or check me out on social media, Dr. Tolu_the Fixer or Intimacy Clinic. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you, the fixer, and thank you everyone for logging in. We're saying bye today until second Saturday of June. Bye.